Hello, podcast land, and welcome to Voice of the Parrot. This is a very special Halloween presentation. I am joined in the studio by my co-host, Zoltan the Podcast Bird. But I am also joined in the virtual studio by my trusty sidekick, my co-host from my other podcast adventures. His name is Tim. Give him a round of applause. Welcome, Tim. Now, just for a little bit of trivia, I can't remember if I did this in Zoltan's meet and greet episode, but Zoltan is named after a raven from a Stephen King book, The Gunslinger. There was a character named Brown who lives with a raven. So he is named after Brown's raven, Zoltan. And he's looking kind of sleepy. He's just kind of sitting here zoning out. How you doing, Zolzol?
I did not know that about Zoltan. That makes him even more cool now.
Oh yeah, I gave him, that was the name I had picked out for him before I even knew what kind of bird I was going to get. His name was going to be Zoltan. And another bit of trivia for you. Zoltan from the Stephen King book says, "Beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot." And I am currently teaching Murray the cockatiel how to say that. He's got the first part of that down. He does not have the second part down yet. So yeah, I've got a little bit of Stephen King in my flock. Absolutely. And I am sitting here tonight with my coffee mug that is Edgar Allan Poe themed. So I thought we would get in the mood with my coffee mug. And we are going to do a dramatic, if not comical, reading of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, because this is a bird podcast, so of course we're going to do a bird Halloween presentation. And it is in the public domain, so we're legally allowed to do this. Before we get started, Tim, we do this on our other podcast quite a bit when we get new listeners and stuff. I've been ramping up on my listener base, and I've got 7 new countries that have joined the flock just this month. You want to help me read those off?
I do.
Let's just do that in alphabetical order.
Let's start with Belgium.
And then we've got the Czech Republic.
Then Ecuador.
We also have new listeners in Hungary.
And Israel.
The Netherlands.
And good morning, Vietnam!
Vietnam has joined the flock. Welcome, everybody. I can't believe how much our listener base has been jumping and growing. It's really hard to grow a podcast, and I am just thrilled every time I see those numbers jump up and new countries show up on my stats. It's awesome. So welcome, everybody who's been listening in. All right. Well, what do you think, Tim? You think you're ready to read a little bit of Edgar Allan Poe to the masses?
It's what I was born for.
Right on. All right. Which one of us is starting this adventure?
That's your podcast. You go ahead.
All right. I guess we'll just get started. Hit it. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, as recited by Shasta, Tim, and Zoltan, the Podcast Bird. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore.
While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
"'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door.
Only this, and nothing more.
Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December,
and each separate dying ember brought its ghost upon the floor.
Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow
from my book's surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore,
for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore,
nameless here forevermore.
And the silking, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain
thrilled me filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before.
So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating,
"'Tis some visitor, entreating entrance at my chamber door."
Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door.
"Ah, that it is, and nothing more."
Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer.
"Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore."
But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping.
And so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door,
that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door.
Darkness there, and nothing more.
Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing,
doubting, dreaming, dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before.
But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token.
And the only word that was spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore."
This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore."
Merely this, and nothing more.
Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning.
Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before.
"Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice."
"Let me see then where thereat is, and this mystery explore."
Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore.
"'Tis the wind, and nothing more."
Open here. I flung the shutter when, with many a flirt and flutter,
in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore.
Not in the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he,
but, with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door.
Perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door.
Perched and sat, and nothing more.
Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling.
By the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore.
Though thy crest shall be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven.
Ghastly grim, an ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore.
Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore.
Quoth the raven, "Nevermore."
Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly,
though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore.
For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being
ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door.
Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust upon his chamber door,
with such a name as Nevermore.
But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only
that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour.
Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered,
till scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before.
On the morrow he will leave me as my hopes have flown before."
Then the bird said, "Nevermore."
Startled at the stillness broken by reply so adaptly spoken.
"Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is only its stock and store.
Caught from some unhappy master from unmerciful disaster.
Followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore.
Till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore.
of never, nevermore.
But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling,
straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bustin' door.
Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking
fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yours,
what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore
meant in croaking nevermore.
This I sat, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing.
To the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core,
This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease, reclining
on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight floated over.
But those velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er,
she shall press, nevermore.
Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer,
swung by a seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee.
Respite, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore.
Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil.
Whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore,
desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted,
on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore.
Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil.
By that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore,
tell this soul with sorrow laden, if, within the distant Aidenn,
it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore.
Clasp a rare and radiant maiden who the angels name Lenore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting.
Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore.
Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken.
Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door.
Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting
on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door.
And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming.
And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor.
And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor,
shall be lifted nevermore.
Nevermore. Oh my gosh, it was so awesome having you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on my little parrot podcast, and I will probably catch you on our next recording here in the next few days for our other podcast.
Dun, 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 dun.
Boop. And little Zoltan's going crazy eating seed now. Oh my gosh, this was fun. All right, everybody. Well, you have a safe and happy Halloween. Don't let your birds get into your chocolate. It's not good for them. And it's probably not good for you either, but enjoy and indulge a little bit anyway.
Well, hey, Shasta, thanks for having me on your podcast. That was really fun reading that with you. And I'm sure we'll find other times to do it again in the future. And Zoltan, it's always good to hang out with you, buddy, even if it's over Zoom.
Yeah, it's you guys have been actually podcasting together for well over a year now.
Yeah, he's a good egg.
No pun totally intended, right? I have a baby bird screaming upstairs. He's not allowed in the studio anymore, so I'm going to go up there and hang out with him, and I will catch you next time.
Right on.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.